What's going on, everybody? I'm Riku and welcome back to another video of Inazuma 11 Victory Road. In today's video I am going to be answering your questions of Inazuma 11 Victory Road. Some of them I've had to do a little bit of digging for, some of them I've had to change up in order to meet whatever we know of at this moment. So this is the most up-to-date information, at least from what I'm able to find. So hopefully if you have any questions regarding Inazuma 11 Victory Road, hopefully it gets answered. If not, leave a comment, I'm more than happy to answer. And if you're leaving a comment, consider subscribing. I really want to get to the 1,000 subscribers before Inazuma 11 Victory Road comes out. That would be amazing. If not, that's fine, we just gotta keep on the grind. But yeah, I've been yapping a bit too much. I'm going to separate this video into 3 sections, being the Kizuna Station, gameplay, and the story / miscellaneous, basically things that I just didn't know where else to put. But yeah, with all that said, let's jump straight into the video. So this is actually a question that I've actually gotten quite a lot. Do you think we can make more than one custom character? And I can already tell you we aren't going to be able to make more than one custom character. It's just one custom character, and you have a wide range of, personalization options. We don't know if all of them are available as soon as you unlock the Kizuna Station, or if you have to grind to get the rest. It's most likely going to be a case of grinding the rest, but that's something that we'll have to see. But you can only make one custom character per save file. Another question is, do you think we can use our OC in the story? So we actually got this confirmed in the Ina Day presentation. We're actually able to use our original character in the story mode, competition mode, as well as chronicle mode. We currently do not know how we're going to be able to use them in story mode, if it's as from a specific chapter. But for chronicle mode, you will have to play the game normally with the characters of the story, and then upon rematches you can use whatever characters you want, and one of the characters that you can use is your original character. Another question is, how far do the original characters go? Do you think it's going to be a self-insert, or will they have dialogue options? Okay, so it's most likely just going to be a self-insert character, like silent MC protagonist trope, even though they aren't really the main character. It's just going to be one of those selectable characters where you have 15, let's say, default voices. You're able to change the pitch and whatever, and then you're just able to, just play with them in the matches with your favorite characters. There's not going to be any story with these characters whatsoever, unless they decide to do so and we just didn't know. But in the actual main story and chronicle mode, I can guarantee you there isn't going to be any story with them. How do you think the stats will work for our OCs in the Bontand? Will we get assigned fixed stats, or do you think we can play around with them a bit? So, this is actually a very good question, because I want to bring Captain Tsubasa to the table. So, in Captain Tsubasa, you're able to, create your own custom character, and that custom character is the best player in the game, or one of the best players in the game. And that is mainly because you can just give it as many stats as you want. So it depends on balancing. I'd assume that level 5 doesn't want to make it so that your main character is broken. So it'll most likely be specific set stats depending on which position you want to be in. Probably not the best in a specific, position, but maybe they are a sort of replacement or good substitution. So say, for example, there are 3 best strikers in the game and the OC is the 4th, depending on how you build them. The OC will just be able to sub in if you, for some reason, can't use the 3 better strikers. That's what I think they're going to do with the stats with the original character. What position and special moves will you give your own character? Okay, so I'm actually going to give myself a little plug here, because I have no idea where else I'm going to slot this into a video, so just a little bit of a story. So I asked my very good friend and artist, Tim Jack Master, to see if he's able to draw me as, in the style of Inazuma 11. And that's actually what you're able to see right now as the channel's icon, my profile picture. Even on Twitter, you're able to see this. So I asked him, hey, can you make me a wind type midfield, as that's what I want to make myself in the game. So one of my favorite positions in football is an offensive midfield. My favorite is striker, then offensive midfield, and then like winger or defender. That's my honest to god like favorite positions, but offensive midfield kind of goes with the vibe that I'm feeling lately. So yeah, I'd like to cover all bases with this. So I want to give myself 2 shooting moves, being Orion Cross Viper from Inazuma 11 Orion, and Shell Burst from Inazuma 11 Go Chronostones. And then I want to give myself at least 1 dribble move, which is the Sword of the King, which is obviously the Mixie Max move from Arion and King Arthur. And I'd like to give myself 1 defensive move, which is Ogliteration, which for those of you who don't know, that is Goldie's Mixie Max move with the Queen of Dragons. And if you know me, you know that Goldie is my favorite character of Inazuma 11. So I just kind of gave myself a little bit of a nod to my favorite characters and favorite instances of football in real life, as well as moves that I just think look amazingly cool. So yeah, that's basically how I'll make my own character. You can actually see on screen at the moment the full body drawing that Tim has made for me, and if you want to commission him, he's a great artist. The link is in the description for his Twitter, and yeah, just send him a message, say that you come from me, and see if he's able to draw you guys something. He's an amazing person. Moving on to the gameplay section now, and the first question is, you mentioned in previous videos that there would be different versions of characters. How do you mean this? Like Season 1 Mark versus Orion Mark? Yes. So you can actually see that we can have different versions of, for example, Faerun, where we have his normal version, his Mixie Max form with a T-Rex, Mixie Max form with Big, and then his adult version, so that's 4 versions of Fae. So with Mark, it's going to be the same way, where you have Season 1 and 2 Mark, Orion Mark, Adult Mark, and then whatever best Mixie Max he has. So for example, with Arian Sherwind, that will also count as its own separate character. So with that, you can also have variations of different characters being in the same team. You can even make a whole team of variants of characters if you feel like it. Moving on to the next question, do you think they'll eventually include all special moves in later updates? Yes. I doubt that they will just keep it at the amount of special moves at launch. It feels a little bit weird, especially since they can just keep adding and adding and adding and adding. So we're definitely going to be getting more special moves as the updates come around, and we currently do not know if the Ares and Orion special moves are in the game at launch, so most likely when those get added into Chronicle mode, we will have those moves also be in the actual game, which will just bump up the amount of special moves in the game. Moving on to the next question, how do you think they'll go about including game-exclusive teams such as the Forest or Zodiac teams? Do you think they'll just be included as characters, or have their own special route in Chronicle mode? So I have 2 scenarios where this could possibly play out. So one of them is maybe they include hidden paths in Chronicle mode, similar to how they were in Inazuma 11 Strikers. So you complete certain prerequisites and then you're just able to unlock a hidden path and then just go and fight them, and then from there you're able to start dropping them. But that honestly depends on how strict Level 5 wants to be with keeping it anime original, or as anime centric as possible. If they want to make it so that Chronicle mode is just the anime, I don't see them doing that. But what they can do is, in the story mode, they can have the Tizen routes. So they could just sprinkle them throughout the maps, and then we're just able to fight different teams, and hopefully they are over there. Maybe it's like a post-game thing. Or they could just make them random drops. We don't know what they're going to do with them, but I'd assume that they'd be in a Tizen route since, they aren't really characters in the main story, so it wouldn't make sense for them to just be in Tizen routes, in my opinion. Will we be able to switch around passives on our characters like special moves? Yes, we were able to learn this with the new look at the Abby Learn system that we were also able to see in the Ina Day Presents, where it looks like you're able to just rearrange passives and special moves. So I need to have a proper, full, in-depth view at that once the game comes out. But it does seem that we are able to. For now, I'm going to say yes. If it's a no later on, I will correct this in the comment. Do you think they'll still include special moves evolution? So we were able to see this in the Abby Learn board, where we are able to directly evolve our special moves. I think you need to have a dupe of the special move manual in order to do this. I'm unsure if you can make up for not having this by using special tokens or something, but this is one of those things where I believe the more you have of a specific move, the higher evolve you can make it, but that is another thing that we're going to have to see once the full release of the game is here. Will all characters be available at launch, or will we have to wait for the Galaxy, Aries, and Orion characters in future updates? So at first in my notes I actually said that we don't know and that I think that we are able to have them all in, but upon checking the Inazuma website as well as talking with other people, it seems that the Galaxy, Aries, and Orion characters are going to be added later on. So the game comes out in November. In December we're getting the Galaxy characters, January we're going to get the Aries characters, and then Orion we're going to get the February. Oh my god. And then in February we're going to get the Orion characters. Oh my god, I can't believe I just messed that up. I'm keeping that in. I'm keeping that in. Okay, so moving on to the next one. Do you think speed is still a factor with characters in Victory Road? Yes, and I think that this is a very important one if you want to use like the sidelines tactic that we could see in the beta. It's definitely a quick way to force offensive pressure, which I'm sure many people will use as methods to chip away at the keeper's power, instead of using high-risk, high-reward gameplay styles, such as the now removed breach meta that we were able to see in the beta. So, for those of you who don't know, the breach meta was basically you just keep attacking hoping that you get a breach no matter what, because the breach would basically guarantee a goal. But now would say the more tension you have, if you take a shot, you have a chance of breaching, and depending on the amount of tension that you have, and depending on how much keeper power there is, it would just take out the amount of tension that you have to breach. It's a little bit confusing, but it's basically that. So with speed and able to force your way into the opponent's box, you're able to chip away at the HP of the keeper very easily, and you're just able to go around defenders quite easily as well. So I think that we'll see very interesting plays both with and without speed, but it is definitely something that we have to see once the game comes out. But I do believe that speed will be a very important factor in Inazuma 11 Victory Road. Is there still stab in Victory Road? So we were actually able to see that there's a new icon that indicated that an element is good against another in a recent trailer. As for stab specifically though, I mean, I do think that it's in the game, because I do believe it was in the beta, so I'm pretty sure that it's going to be in the final game, but that is once again one of those things that, if it's not, I will confirm this in a comment down below once the game fully comes out. Do you think the fusion mechanics for fighting spirits will work the same? So we currently do not know how fighting spirits work at the moment, but I do wish to see fusion spirits make a comeback. They could revamp it and make it so fusion spirits take simply more tension when they are summoned, or we may just see them keep the original system. So in order to summon Griffin, you'd have to summon the Archwing Pegasus, Maestro, and Lancelot, which would simply imply 4 separate instances of using tension. But once again, I feel like that's a little bit too convoluted, so I just hope that you're just able to summon the spirit directly. So having all 3 of them just consume the amount of tension that it would to get Griffin, instead of having to sit through the animation 4 times. So we'll have to see how it works, but TLDR, it's either too much tension or they make them standalone spirits, in my honest opinion. That's what I think they're going to do. Do you think counter shots will still work the same, seeing as they were mentioned in the PV8 at the final specs page? So I think that they'll work the same. You just got to factor in that your defense has to be in the position of the castle wall in order to be able to redirect to the shot. So it should work like in the original DS and 3DS games, where you're able to, I believe you're able to just reduce the power if you're trying to take a shot, a counter shot, but if not, it's just a direct miss. So it should just work the same if your shot completely counters the power of the enemy. If not, it's just a direct miss and it'll go into the goal. That's how I think it'll work. How do you think seasonal players will work? So the way that it seems to work now, seasonal players are now seasonal characters, which is the exact same thing. Tournaments are not just one-offs, but they are now held every 3 months, which we knew about. And to enter a tournament, your team must include at least 5 exclusive players to that season. So it seems that exclusive players or seasonal players are just a way of keeping the meta balanced so that it's not just the exact same overpowered teams through and through. So every 3 months is going to be a tournament, and you have to choose 5 characters that are promoted in that season's tournament, and they must be a part of your team when you're competing in tournament. So that's how I think they're going to go around with seasonal players, instead of just making it so that every 3 months you get new players and then they become eternal players. I do not know what the old system was, but it seems that they are now specifically making it so that seasonal players are exclusive or limited to being just for the tournament, but you are able to summon them in other game modes such as Chronicle mode as well as the story mode through drops. So the too long don't read is seasonal characters are 5 players that you choose to play with you in a tournament. That's basically what it is. Do we have any idea of the percentage of new moves versus old? So we can only make guesses at the moment, and the info I'll be using does come from Dots on Twitter. So they state the following. Quote, 712 is the total including DLC, and a more precise breakdown is 398 visible moves from Inazuma 11 1 to Inazuma 11 Go 2, which is Chronostones, and 317 secret moves. The secret moves appear to include Go and Go 2 Fighting Spirit moves, as well as Go 3 to Victory Road special moves. There could be moves that are missing that get added later, but assuming that the 712 number is final, and that nothing from Inazuma 11 Go 3 to Orion makes it in, and deducting the returning of Keshin, which is Fighting Spirit moves, that could mean at least 91 new moves for Inazuma 11 Victory Road. End quote. That's all the info we have at the moment, but this is definitely something that we'll have to update once the game comes out. So moving on to the story / miscellaneous part of the video, and we're starting off with, could the Ares / Orion characters be canon to the story mode in some sort of way? I believe the Ares sponsors are in the backgrounds of some footage of the story mode. So while the Ares sponsors are in the story mode, it's confirmed that Inazuma 11 Victory Road story takes place in the same continuity as the video games, so we're most likely not going to see any of the Ares characters in the main story, unless it's an alternative universe version of the character. Ares and Orion appear in Chronicle mode's story, but that is because we are dealing with different timelines there. If they ever make Ares / Orion canon to the main story, they could potentially retcon a multitude of different things, so I doubt they want to potentially upset their players, you get me? How do you think scouting will work in the game? Story and Chronicle mode. In the main story, I think it'll be like always, where you look for a character and you've got to do certain tasks in order to get the character to join the team. So most likely all of the random scouts will be like this, and then the teams that we face off in the story mode, you'll only be able to get once you're in the post game, so that then they can join your team and then you can just do it in the replay, the story section. And then as for Chronicle mode, the scouting system seems to be the summoning animation that we've seen, where it's 12 characters per pack if I remember correctly. So you'll have to summon to drop the characters after playing the matches repeatedly in order to get them. But don't worry, Inazuma 11 Victory Road is not a pay-to-win game, because there's no intentions or microtransactions in the game whatsoever. So you just have to keep grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding in order to get the characters that you want, basically. Do you think they'll have gimmicks in the story mode or just every other mode? Okay, so at first I was going to say, oh, they're just gonna be in Chronicle mode, but with the recent trailer we were able to see how at least Miximax and Fighting Spirits will be in the story mode, so we still have no idea how Miximax works, but the new Fighting Spirits, dude, they look so cool, and from the trailer it looks like Cedric will also have his own Fighting Spirit, which I honestly can't wait to see. What are you looking forward to the most when the game comes out, and what will be the first thing that you're gonna do? Oh my god, I have this clear. The first thing that I'm gonna do is the story mode. I want to get lost in the world of the new Inazuma, exploring every nook and cranny that the game has to offer, learning everything, beating the story, and then once the story mode is done, I will move on to Chronicle mode, clear as much of it as I can, and then build my very own Ultimate 11 to take into competition mode. That's what I'm gonna do. It's what I'm most looking forward to, and I'm going to have a blast with this game, I'm sure of it. How do you think the player bank will work? So we actually just got this confirmed in the inner day. You'll be able to recruit all of the 5,400 playable characters. However, there's apparently a limit. They haven't really elaborated on this, so I'm not really sure on this. However, you can store each player that you recruit, train them, enhance them, and eventually bring them into a future game if they ever decide to make a sequel. Have they announced the length of the story mode? No. But it will be the longest story in the series. Hino estimates that players could take 80 to 100 hours to do everything in the game, so I do think that the story mode could sit easily between like 30 and 35 hours. However, we honestly do not know at the moment, so please do not take my word for it. Could be more, could be less, but my guess is that it could be 30 to 35 hours of story. Will there be multiple saves, or will I have to reset my team and save files like in the DS games? Okay, so since we have crossplay, we won't be able to have multiple saves of the same user. However, most of the modern consoles or platforms, you can simply just add a new user and play from that. However, we also have confirmation that you will have a new game plus in the story, and if you want to be a little technical, you can theoretically buy the game in 2 platforms, initiate cross-save for both platform bonuses, turn off save cloud data, and then you can have 2 separate save files from... You can basically do anything you want and have some exploits done in the future. But I didn't say that. I will give you guides on this if we ever get this in the future, but I didn't say this right now. This is just a little secret between you and me. In the game, we will get the 6 players and then pick 5 more from the options, but are the others locked out? Are we a 11-man team with no subs? So we are able to scout characters throughout the story. We aren't locked to that, but at the beginning of the game, you'll only be able to choose 5 out of the 15 selectable characters. With the 10 you didn't choose, they'll be open to scout once you finish the game. And then if you want to, you can also replay the game in a New Game Plus and select a completely different cast of 5. So it's honestly up to you. My personal recommendation is play the story 3 times with all 5 characters that you didn't choose, and then you just have a blast with that. I'll have a blast with that. I'll do it. I'm gonna have 1,000 hours in this game easily. So. Okay, so moving on to the last question. In Chronicle mode, are we forced to use the team from the time event? So Raimon vs Zeus will have to use the OG Raimon, or can we use a team of ours? Okay, so when you're first going through the story in Chronicle mode, you will have to use the time event team. So in Raimon vs Zeus, you will have to use OG Raimon against Zeus once you've restored the timeline. Upon a rematch with Zeus, you can up the difficulty and you can use whichever team you want. You can basically cheat up all of your characters. You can make them all level 99 and completely destroy Zeus, but that will only be possible after a... it'll only be possible during a rematch, not during the main course of the Chronicle mode. So Chronicle mode in itself is just a very grindy game mode, so you really want to complete as much as you can with the story mode and then just keep grinding with your own teams at the higher difficulties, because it just gives you more treasures. Anyways, that's too much of a yap fest. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Leave a like, subscribe, all the good stuff. And yeah, Inazuma 11 Victory Road releases in just under a week. I can't wait to play this game. I'm so excited. If you have any other questions, leave it down below. That was it for today. I was Riku, and all I gotta say is adios.